Hello, hello. Good to see you again, guys. Going to talk about Bill Brown. Awesome story, how Bill Brown made $1 million. This is really cool. Anyway, this is Jack Later. I want to welcome my replay viewers right now. And let me around for a second. Just a second as I readjust my phone here. Welcome to my marketing Periscope. And those of you who are, good to see you again, Jay. And those of you who know me know that I give as much value as I possibly can. I rank to the top 10 of 3 different internet marketing systems. And I've made as much as $11,000 in a single month. Good to see you, Paul, again. And so I want to give you, there's a cool story here I got to tell you. This is really awesome. And again, those of you who are on the replay watching this at some other time, welcome. This is called The Story of Bill Brown, or How Bill Brown Made $1 Million. And this is an awesome, awesome story. And it's kind of 2 stories in one. And so anyway, as you get value from what I'm going to share with you right now, make sure to slide sideways or down, depending on your device, and click the share button. And also, or you could just click on the Perry Dude and do the same thing. And as you get value, and if you appreciate what I'm going to show you today, make sure you tap the screen a bunch of times and just leave me some hearts. So anyway, so like I said, it's 2 stories in one. Excuse me. The first story about a person who's really successful, and I've learned these traits myself, was from my grandfather. His name is Clint Davenport, and you know, Grandpa, he knew nothing about the computer, but I'll tell you, he knew how to run a business. And what happened was that he really had no education at all. He died when he was about 91, and I was privileged to speak at his funeral. And what happened was he never finished 9th grade. And I think 9th grade was the last year that he finished. But he was a tenacious worker, very committed, was raised on a farm in southern Utah. His parents taught him how to work real hard, and he worked hard on the ranch, on the farm, and was taught to, you know, the values like rowing to the end, or hoeing to the end of the row, and finishing what you start, and being tenacious and persistent in whatever you do. And so that served him very, very well because of his lack of education. He had to rely on his other skills, on his other talents, which was his ability to finish things, his ability to work super hard and to go full steam ahead. My mother inherited that. I've watched my mother throughout her life, and she exhibited the same traits. And it's awesome to see that. I call it the old pioneer work ethic. His grandfather was a Mormon pioneer who came with the Mormons back to Utah. And with his family, they settled in southern Utah, in Cedar City, Utah. But anyway, I'll tell you the miracle of all this is that even though he had no education, or very little education, he moved to Southern California, and he was real persistent and in searching for some kind of a business. He wanted to go into business for himself, and so he somehow he found a man who was retiring and wanted to sell a small restaurant. It was called Pickle Bill's Barbecue. And man, they served some phenomenal roast beef. In fact, my dad owned a restaurant later on, and we incorporated the same recipe because it was so successful. Anyway, the old man was retiring, so Grandpa took it over and bought the restaurant, and it did so well. This restaurant did so well that Grandpa was able to pay that restaurant off in 5 years. And in fact, the original owner was a little bit kind of upset and surprised because he wanted to have earn the interest on it for a long time. But Grandpa did so well in the restaurant that he paid it off in 5 years. Now, that was back in I think he purchased it in 1947. Had the restaurant for about 25 years. And so Grandpa retired from that restaurant when he was about 50. I don't even think he hit 60. He was about 57, 58 years old when he retired. And that was in about 1969. And Grandpa was able to live the rest of his life on his savings from that restaurant. And he lived to be about 91. Now, put this in perspective. My uncle was telling me, my uncle worked with him, my uncle was telling me that when he owned the restaurant in the early 1960s, Grandpa's accountant would cut him a check for $2,000. He and his brother owned the restaurant together, so they would cut both of his brother and my grandpa a check for $2,000 each, and that was after all of the expenses were paid. Now, maybe $2,000 isn't a huge amount of money. I mean, it's pretty good for even today, I guess. But that was $2,000 a week in the early 1960s. I mean, think about what $2,000 would have bought in 1961. I know a Volkswagen cost around, $1,500 brand new back then. So being able to purchase something like that on a weekly basis. So Grandpa did really well, and he was smart about it. He saved as much money as he possibly could. He was always frugal, and so that money served him well. Excuse me. So he lived to be 91, and he had enough money in savings to last the rest of his life. And plus, he put some extra money into some real estate too, so he had some money there. And so when he died, he wasn't poor. He was able to actually leave some of it to his kids. And my mother actually benefited from some of that because she had some financial challenges, and my mother was able to buy a house with a part of that money. It didn't trickle down to me, but what trickled down to me was his tenacity, his work ethic, his ability to finish things that he started. And so so my grandfather was a rancher, like I said. When he retired, he came back to Utah and lived the rest of his life, the 30 years, on another ranch. So, and by then it wasn't out of necessity. It's because he wanted to. He wanted to run that ranch, and so it was kind of a hobby farm, but he even tried to live on that the rest of his life too. So he was frugal, he worked hard, he hoed to the end of the road. He never quit until he was absolutely done. And with whatever he started. And so when our family asked me to give the eulogy at my grandfather's funeral, I talked about this ability to finish things, the ability to hoe to the end of the road, to the ability to be tenacious and persistent. And I came across a story. Actually, it's written in poetry form. This awesome story, and I gave this poem / story as part of my eulogy. And so this is the story of Bill Brown, and it's almost like my grandfather. This is really neat about Bill Brown's millions. So this is the way it goes. Bill Brown made $1 million. Bill Brown, think of that. A boy you remember as poor as a rat, who hoed for the neighbors, did jobs by the day. Well, Bill made $1 million, or near that, they say. This is so much like my grandpa. You can't imagine it. Well, neither can I. And then I remembered, and now I know why. The bell might be ringing, the dinner horn blow, but Bill always stayed to the end of the row. Bill worked for my father, you maybe recall. He wasn't a wander, not that at all. He couldn't out-hoe me or cover more ground or hoe any cleaner or beat me around. In fact, I was better one way that I know. 1 toot from the kitchen and home I would go, but Bill always hoed to the end of the row. We used to get hungry out there in the corn. You talk about music, what equals a horn? A horn yelling dinner, tomatoes and beans, pork and potatoes and gravy and beans. I ain't blaming no one for quitting on time. To stop with a whistle, that ain't no crime. But as for the $1 million, well, this much I know, that Bill always hoed to the end of the row. And that was Grandpa's forte right there. And, you know, in internet business, in regular business, I mean, whether it's brick and mortar, real estate, internet marketing, network marketing, it is so important The tactics is just a small part of it, I promise. Once you learn the tactics, and yeah, I know there's a learning curve involved, but once you know the tactics, and as you're going through the tactics, you've got to stay till the end of the row. Whether it's not going to bed until you've mastered a little skill, or finished a phone call, or finished a blog, or made the email, or did the a YouTube video or a Periscope video. Boy, I'll tell you, there are times that I just wanted to go to bed, and I just knew I couldn't. I didn't care whether it's 1 in the morning. I just needed to finish what I needed to finish. Otherwise, I put myself into a debt progression, I guess is what you would call it. As far as you're getting stuff done. If you're working ahead a little bit, you're in rich person's mentality. If you're getting behind one thing and you're not finishing the row that you're supposed to hoe, you're going to be behind forever. And that was the value that my grandfather taught me, and that's what made him a ton of money. So I wanted to share that with you. Hope you got a lot of value with that. Feel free to share by swiping down or sideways and leave me some hearts. Now, incidentally, guys, excuse me, those of you who are using the internet to market something, to make money online, make sure to go to jacklater.net, jacklater.net, and download my 8-step checklist and video walkthrough to 30 to 50 leads per day. I show you exactly how to do that. Also, make sure to visit my blog at workwithjacklater.com, workwithjacklater.com, and you can also download some training that teaches you exactly how I make up to 100% commissions. And it's a phenomenal system that I used in order to make 100% commissions, and that's at workwithjacklater.com. You'll also find training on how to do internet marketing in a variety of ways. And so that's at workwithjacklater.com. And again, don't forget to click on the 100% commission training that's there. And also, I think even on the blog, there's even a link to my 8-step checklist. So check out workwithjacklater.com. Hope you got a ton of value from this awesome, neat story. Make it a great day. Appreciate the hearts and appreciate the shares and the comments. Thank you. Bye.